Okay, before we get started, I want to send out a big thank you to Kurt at KH Model Works. He told me about the instructions out on the ScaleMate site. I completely forgot to go check there, but sure enough, they had them in English, and so I printed them out, and so now I have the colors. I understand what's going on here better. You know, they talk about stretching the sprue. I had a feeling that's what they were talking about for the antenna. I think I'm going to use wire. We'll see when I get there. But much better understanding. Royal blue, would have never thought of that. Metallic gray. So now I know the colors. I understand what's going on. So Kurt, thank you so much. Awesome modeling community we have. I have good instructions. I can get started and really understand what the heck I'm doing. So to that end, let's go ahead and get started. Really nice. Still on the fence about whether or not I'm going to do the figure. And I have learned a lot about these. These outer edges are basically like tires. They're supposed to be black rubber. There's a nib. There's a edge on here that you need to file off. Watched a couple of videos. There's actually several good videos out there, so I'm not going to show a lot of building of the kit because, like I said, Flurry Models has, I believe, like a 5-parter, and he does it step by step by step. So I'm not going to show that. But suffice it to say, I went out and watched most of them all the way through. You know, I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on now. On here, so apparently the reason for these openings is that Tamiya, I don't know if it's Tamiya who sold it or if it was aftermarket, but you could actually get a kit, and I think in the comments of my first video, David Chin mentioned it, that you could get a kit to make these like remote control and they could actually operate. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing that, but I just thought that that was really interesting that they do that. And then with these inserts that they have that go both in the wheels and I believe on here, that would enable you to, you know, because they're rubber, you can push it together and push these on there, but they would still spin. And then you could push it together and take it apart so that you could get to those inner workings, change the battery, what have you. So that was pretty, you know, that's pretty cool, pretty interesting. The first thing we're going to do are all these wheels. And so I've got all those there. Got all my sanding sticks, everything ready to go. So I guess I have 16 wheels to put together with these inserts inside. And the thing with these wheels is right here on the edge, there's a ridge, so to speak, that has to be sanded off there, as well as obviously the connection points, so that when you're done, you end up, you know, with a nice smooth edge and kind of roughed up so that later when you paint it, it'll look like rubber. So just using the sanding sticks to get to that point. Have quite a few to do. There's some people out, again, on YouTube. One guy set up a Dremel and he spun them around and it just seemed like a lot of setup, and he's like, this one only took 30 seconds. So there's different ways of doing it, but I'm just going to go old school. After doing about 6 of those, I was like, yeah, maybe this would be easier. So, you know, I have my Dremel tool here. So I kind of, you know, went through, tried to find one that would work. So that's the right one, and it just fits on there. And then I turn it on, and basically I'm not going to do it because I'm holding the camera, but, you know, just kind of take this, hold it on there a little bit, and then, you know, just go down, then this one, until I get a nice smooth edge and get rid of that ridge. And then these have this bigger hole, and it doesn't go all the way through. So then I found this one. I think this will work. I'll just, you know, put it in there and kind of jam it in there and hold it. And that's all you need. It just needs to stay on there. All right, so finally all those are done. Yeah, this thing actually kind of worked out nice putting it on there. So now all those edges are clean and smooth. So now you have to insert these in there and then put them together. I've completed all these. Now I'm moving on to the sides. And one of the things, quirky things about this as well is this piece here, you see there's two pins going into two holes. Here it has like this third hole in the middle. You ignore that one. On here, it has two pins across, but those only line up if they're lower. They need to be higher, so you need to remove that middle pin, and then you can put them in there on the higher one. A couple of interesting things here. So this A7 piece has to go in here to form another peg. On this side, as you can see, it fits nice and flush, and I'll glue that in a second. But on this side, it did not, and I had to clamp it. And it was because it was this wall was ever so slightly warped. So heads up on that. And then the other thing is these black rubber pieces go over here. I had them on there. This won't fit in there with those on, so wait to do A7 before you put those on. When it comes to this turret, one of the things I learned, I forget who it was from, might have been Flurry Models. When you put it in here, let's see if I can do this with my left hand. When you put it in here, you know, it's supposed to catch, so that, you know, and spin, but then you can take it off at this angle. One of those people in the video said, oh, you know, there's a concern that it might scrape and this, that, and the other. So he lobbed these off. I still like having the safety of if it's over here, you can't knock it off, because then anywhere he could just pull it up. So what I did is I took a look at this and I'm like, those are pretty thick. So I just took my, luckily that file fits right in between there, and I just filed those up to make it thinner, to give me a little more play in there so it won't scrape or whatever. And that'll, you know, then I'll still have the safety factor of, you know, it being able to catch in there and not tilt off. So I did both those sides. And then the other thing I did is just sanded each side of the opening just a little bit more to make it even easier to get them in there. So now, you know, it should just drop right in there and spin easily. And yeah, I can feel a little bit of play in there, which makes me happier. But still gives me that safety of it, you know, if you tip it, it's sitting on a shelf or whatever, a high shelf, and you tip it, it doesn't come flying out of there. So finished up the pieces on this end, actually put this piece on, and then finished up these little pieces in here. So this section here. Now moving on to this piece, I've cleaned this up. So my understanding from watching the other videos is it's easier to put those glass pieces in after you've painted and everything. So basically what you do is dry fit this in there, and then sticky tack it, or, you know, tape it or what have you from the bottom, do all your painting, then come back and pop it out and do those glass pieces later. Okay, with those headlight pieces there, that's the end of the first page, page 2. And with that, yeah, I think the body is pretty much done. So I guess the way it's supposed to work is there's this little hook piece on here. And then these two posts go into these two rubber pieces so that you could put it on and take it off. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so that forms the body, this B59, which is where, if you do the commander figure, he would stand. I'm going to go ahead and put it in now. And again, I'll cross that. I'll probably go ahead and do him. And if he comes out good, fine, I'll use him. If he looks stupid, I can just, I believe you can open and close the hatch. You don't have to model it one way or the other. I could be wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and put that piece in now. Another thing you rarely see in airplanes, although I did see it in cars. My first car, the Thunderbird, had this to hold the chassis together, but there's a screw that goes into a nut, and this piece is shaped in the shape of a nut. Tighten until moves smoothly. It can move smoothly, but then would stay where you put it, I assume, is what they're getting at. I think that should be okay. Again, my first tank, so another thing I'm kind of first time I'm encountering that. Similar to airplanes, there are things that need to be cleaned up. So a lot of these parts have, you know, the mold separation lines that you have to clean up all the way around. Similar to airplanes, or at least fuselages, is rubber bands to hold this together. They talk about cellophane tape. That, you know, what worries me is that it, you know, you tape it and it, you put the glue in there and then it sticks to the tape. With the rubber band, this fits down far enough where if you get it right, I should be able to touch it and it never touches the rubber band. And I thought I saw one other modeler do this on YouTube, so I'm giving this a try. I went all the way around. I did not do across the back because I felt that those two pieces of, I felt these two rubber bands were too close, but this fits really nice. So once everything else is dry, it should just be a matter of touching it. You know, this took me the better part of a day. I think I'm gonna let that sit overnight and see where we're at in the morning. It is Sunday morning, and I want to do some more shout outs to the community. First of all, just watched a video. It looks like Charlie Mac's doing better. Awesome news. Great guy. Charlie, be well, feel better. I mentioned Kurt pointed me to ScaleMates for the English instructions. Well, David Chin just did a video, and speak of the devil, there's a tank on his card right there. Just did a video about his remote control version of this. And yeah, David, from watching your video, and everybody, you got to go check out this video. He goes into great detail about this kit and you know, displays his knowledge of tanks, which seems pretty extensive, and how he built this as a remote control and then he operates it, and it's a totally cool video. So yeah, David, it has turned out to be, you know, a pretty straightforward kit, and I like what you did. I'm going to do the same thing. And try to follow this pattern of, you know, these are the Japanese instruction page that I blew up, and, you know, kind of just good eye it. It's not a perfect size match, but yeah. But I'm going to do it with an airbrush and kind of following, like I said, Andy's hobby headquarters. Andy has a video about how he does it, and in this pattern, but in the winter Verdant, of how he does it. So I'm going to kind of follow that when I get to the painting and weathering. But yeah, definitely go check out David's video. It's awesome, about this kit and the motorized version and the history of these Tamiya kits as well. So David, thank you so much. Actually about to assemble the barrel here. These pieces up here, you know, again, just following the instructions, which are very good, typical of Tamiya kits from my experience. Oh, and just finished the gas tank. You know, I usually do 1 to 72, which is so small. So this 1 to 35 is pretty cool. I mean, that looks awesome. And then I have all these parts over here that go up on top. I think this one's next, on the next page. But again, leaving a lot of these off. I'm still going to make a decision now that I've seen David's chins and he has the guy in there. I think, you know, that kind of encouraged me to go that way because it did look pretty cool. So anyway, you leave these parts off, and then I'll put them on with sticky tack or whatever for painting. But I've test fit them all. Wow, I really like this. So, I mean, here, you can't even see a seam. It's completely disappeared because it's plastic to plastic melted together. So now I'm working these railings, I guess you would call them. I'm actually gluing them onto the centerpiece first, and then I'll make sure they're all straight. Then I'll put this piece in, get that all lined up before I glue these end pieces in. And luckily I caught this. I thought I could put that gas can on later, but actually, you know, good thing these three here are still loose. I was able to lift that up and put it under there. It's still loose in there. I want to get it positioned just right, and I'll touch it with some glue. But yeah, you have to put that in there now. Otherwise, once those railings are in, you won't be able to get it in. So, in the infamous words of Kevin Kline in A Fish Called Wanda, disappointed. This part number 53. I'm working on the top here. This goes on the back, and that part 53 is missing. It is supposed to be right there, and I just went upstairs, looked at my video from when I was pulling this out of the bag, and sure enough, it's not there. And again, I won this in a raffle, so I wonder if somebody needed that part, pulled it out and said, oh, I'll give the rest of it away, or, you know, I shouldn't say that. So unfortunately, there's a piece missing. I'll have to go out and look at some references, but it looks like a pipe coming up from a triangular piece. It doesn't look that complicated. I'm sure I can create it somehow. This kit was rolling along. No scratch building, going together perfectly. And the modeling gods just won't let me be happy. I guess I'll put this piece on now and then start on the machine guns. Just put that barrel on, and once that dries, it'll be able to, you know, tilt up and down because of that screw and bolt that I put in earlier. But that pretty much concludes the turret. I've got the machine guns, you know, over here kind of separate. I'm going to paint those separately and then kind of piece this together at some point. I guess I'll do one last view to kind of finish up this video. I'll put it all together once it dries just a little bit more, and kind of show you where I'm at, and then next video will be starting the painting. All right, there we go. The doors and the guns are just dry fit on there. There's the ammo boxes and another support for that gun. And again, I have to scratch build this piece that goes back here. And I'm going to either stretch some sprue or, you know, use some wire for the antennas back there. But everything else is done. So again, dry fit, dry fit, dry fit. These two are dry fit. But everything else is on there. And then the top is, again, just on there with the hook and the two pins. It is not glued on. At some point then I will glue it on, I think. The wheels are just dry fit on there. I've pushed them on because, again, they have those plastic inserts, which is nice. So I can take the top off, remove those wheels, paint those separate, and then again paint the body and everything basically the way Andy did in his video. So yeah, really cool kit. And again, thanks to everybody out there who gave me advice, especially David Chin and Kurt. I'm having a blast building this thing, and I think it's coming out really cool. Again, this kit goes together great. I have really zero complaints, except for that missing piece, which obviously isn't the kit's fault. So yeah, hope you're enjoying this. Next time we'll be painting and weathering. So until then, thanks for watching and happy modeling.